Revealed, how a misdial from a billionaire CEO led to an incredible rescue of a young boy's mom. Jake Thompson wasn't he the kind of man who sought attention? A simple, hardworking single father, he spent his days juggling shifts at the local diner and toiling on the nearby farm. But on this particular day, fate took a turn that would change everything for both him and his son, Ethan. With his heart full of love and determination, Jake instilled values of hard work in his spirited 8-year-old. Life in their tight-knit rural town had always been about community, but the whispers of judgment followed Jake like a shadow. Meanwhile, across the country, billionaire CEO Mark Anderson was caught in a storm of corporate chaos. In the hustle of his high-stakes life, he misdialed a number. It rang, and after a moment, he found himself engulfed in a voicemail that would shake him to his core. Another urgent business matter faded away as he heard Jake's voice, cracking with worry. "My mom's been in an accident, I can't get to her." A raw honesty pierced through the polished veneer of the corporate world, grounding Mark in memories of his own difficult upbringing. Emotions stirred within Mark as he heard the love in Jake's voice. Desperation painted the air thick with empathy. For a moment, it felt like the walls of his office dissolved, and he was standing in the streets of his hometown, selling lemonade, building bonds with the neighbors. Each word from Jake pulled at a thread of humanity buried under layers of wealth and success. Suddenly, Mark found himself considering what it truly meant to be successful. As Jake navigated through the long hours and societal pressures, each encounter with the townsfolk stirred frustration and isolation. But when he learned a dear friend needed help, he put everything aside, proving that a character built on integrity meant more than wealth. And the community responded. Neighbors rallied, a potluck stirring with laughter and kindness, lighting up the little diner and pushing the shadows back, showing that they wouldn't let him falter. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the story unfolded, the day came when Jake and Mark finally clashed, two worlds colliding. The tension was palpable. Jake, torn between his fierce love for his son and the looming weight of the world, stood hoping for understanding from this man who appeared to have everything. But standing in Mark's eyes, Jake saw uncertainty too. In that moment, they became more than just man and billionaire. They were fathers wrestling with the same concerns. Just when it felt that connection could mend their worlds, a tragic accident blindsided Jake and Ethan. In a split second, Ethan felt the sting of abandonment, his heart questioning who truly sees worth beyond wealth. As the townsfolk gathered once again, an undeniable wave of support crashed around Jake. Standing at a crossroads, Jake wrestled with his doubts against the backdrop of small-town warmth. Would the ties that bound his community hold strong enough to fend off his own insecurities? With uncertainty swirling like autumn leaves, Jake felt the weight of the world pressing down. Would he emerge stronger, or would his spirit finally break? As the sun dipped below the horizon, the answer hung in the air, leaving readers craving the next chapter of their lives. As dusk settled over the small town, Jake stared at the darkening sky, the last remnants of light slipping away, much like hope began to fade from his heart. There was an unsettling stillness in the air, a soundless space where expectations hung heavy. Ethan, who had always been his joy, now sat in silence, trying to comprehend the whirlwind of emotions that had engulfed them. Jake's heart ached as he watched his son's mouth form a frown. The boy had been through so much already. No child should bear the weight of worry that came from an accident that had shattered their lives. Jake knelt down, pulling Ethan into a steady embrace, hoping he could convey support through his unspoken love. "Hey, buddy," Jake whispered, his voice soft yet strained. "We're going to figure this out. I promise you." But even as he said it, self-doubt clawed at him. How could he promise that? What was left to figure out when everything seemed so dark? Meanwhile, far away in his luxurious penthouse, Mark was wrestling with his own thoughts. The voice message had struck a chord deep within him. Thoughts of his upbringing scraping by, feeling invisible to the world around him, crept back in. He remembered the hard-working men and women in his small town, the ones who lifted each other up even when resources were scarce. Would he let this opportunity slip away? Or could he step up when it mattered the most? Resolute, he dialed Jake's number, his heart racing as the call connected. Jake? Mark's voice was steady, but his nerves were fraying. Who is this? Jake replied, the edge of frustration creeping into his tone. It's Mark. Mark Anderson. I got your voicemail, he said, taking a breath, trying to find the right words. I know things are difficult for you right now. I want to help. Jake's breath hitched. Help? You don't even know me. I don't need to know you. Mark leaned forward, his voice dropping low, earnest. I hear the worry in your voice. You're a father, doing your best. That means something. We can figure this out together. Silence stretched between them, pregnant with anxiety, hope, and uncertainty. Jake could feel the town's warmth pouring out, their love encircling him even in this moment with a man he barely knew. Could he really trust this wealthy stranger offering help? Uncertain, he mustered courage and spoke. Okay. Let us talk. They planned to meet that evening, a collision of lives framed in tension. As Jake slid into the diner's booth, a familiar weight settled in the pit of his stomach, mixing with cautious optimism. Mark arrived soon after, his presence larger than life, yet he wore a determined look masked with respect. Thanks for meeting me, Mark said, taking a seat, his voice filled with sincerity. If you wanted to play savior, you could have just sent a check, Jake replied, arms crossed, defensive yet curious. Mark paused, searching for the right words. I want to understand. I want to know the real you. The situation isn't just about money, it's about people, heart, community. Jake studied Mark's expression. Could this man truly grasp what it meant to fight for everything they loved, as they talked about Jake's world where laughter mixed with struggle and love was unconditional but bruised, something within shifted. Acceptance flickered like a candle's flame, creating a bridge where mistrust once stood, yet, the storm of Ethan's heartache loomed in the background, threatening to extinguish their fragile connection. Just then, Jake's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced down and froze. A text from the hospital. The message brought with it a cascade of emotions, stirred up like a tempest. They need us. His heart raced. What awaited them was a challenge no one could have prepared for. Would love be enough to light their path when darkness threatened to engulf them? As they headed to the hospital, a glimmer of hope lingered, yet the shadows whispered of looming trials ahead. Would their souls find solace amidst the chaos? The answer was veiled in uncertainty. Jake's grip tightened around the steering wheel as they raced towards the hospital. The fluorescent lights of the street lamp splashed across the windshield, illuminating his furrowed brow and the anxious expression on Mark's face beside him. Ethan remained silent in the back seat, his small hands clenched tight, echoing the unspoken fears that hung thick in the air. Why did they text you? Mark asked, breaking the charged silence. They didn't say. Just that they needed us. Jake's voice trembled slightly, a mix of urgency and dread. I should be been there earlier. You can't blame yourself for something you didn't cause. Mark's voice was firm, but there was a softness to it, a reminder that they were in this together, no matter the differences between their lives. As they pulled into the hospital parking lot, Jake's heart hammered in his chest. It was almost as if the building itself held its breath, standing tall yet eerily quiet, ready to expose the hidden depths of its chaos within. They rushed inside, the sterile smell of antiseptic punctuating the atmosphere, competing with the nervous energy crackling around them. The waiting room was subdued, filled with others lost in their own worlds of worry. Families whispered in urgent tones, while others sat in heavy silence, faces painted with anxiety. Jake turned to Mark, whose expression mirrored the tension radiating from him. What if? Jake hesitated, his throat tightening. What if it's bad news? Mark stepped closer, his eyes steady and reassuring. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. Jake nodded, grateful for the unexpected support, even though doubt still lingered like a shadow behind him. They approached the reception desk, where a nurse with weary eyes greeted them. "Name?" she asked, her tone professional but devoid of warmth. "Jake Turner. I got a text saying they need me." His voice dropped off, the gravity of the situation seeping in. She typed rapidly before looking up. "You're listed under a minor S case. Follow the corridor to room 210. The doctor will meet you there." With a quick nod, Jake turned to Mark. "Come on," he urged, and they hurried down the sterile hallway, fluorescent lights casting a cold glow on the tile floors. They rounded the corner, and the door to room 210 loomed ahead, heavy and daunting. Jake paused, closing his eyes for a fleeting moment to gather strength. "I can't do this," he said, shaking his head, panic escalating. Mark placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "Yes, you can. You've been doing it every single day for Ethan. You're stronger than you know." Jake took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of Mark's hand grounding him. "Okay, let us go." He pushed open the door, heart racing, and was met with the sight of a doctor standing beside a small bed. There, in the bed, lay Ethan's mother, pale and unconscious but alive, surrounded by machines that beeped steadily. "Mr. Turner?" The doctor nodded, lifting his gaze. "We've managed to stabilize her, but there's a lot to discuss." As the doctor launched into medical jargon, Jake's mind fuzzed, thoughts swirling in confusion. He could see the faint rise and fall of his wife's chest, a beacon of hope, yet the seriousness of the situation loomed heavy. Mark stepped beside him, offering unspoken support as they listened. But in that moment, Jake felt the weight of a different kind of realization. The life he thought he was living, where he fought alone, was beginning to change. That he turned to Mark, gratitude washing over him. "Thank you for being here." Mark smiled softly. "This isn't just about you, Jake. It's about Ethan, too. He needs his mom." Suddenly, a commotion outside the door jolted them, pulling their attention. Voices were raised, footsteps rushing. Someone was in distress. The tension escalated as the door burst open. A figure stood there, wild-eyed and frantic. "Where's my sister?" the woman shouted, desperation woven into her voice as she searched the room. "I need to know she's okay." Jake's heart sank. Who was this woman? What did she know? And how would this new storm change everything they thought they understood? As chaos spun in the already strained room, Jake felt the ground shift beneath him. Where he sought answers, new questions arose that threatened to upend everything. One massive realization hit him like a freight train. This wasn't merely about his family anymore. It was about something so much bigger. Would they be able to unite in the midst of this turmoil? Or would secrets unravel the thread that connected them all? The woman's frantic energy flooded the room like a storm. Her eyes darted, searching for someone among the pale sheets of the hospital bed. "Who is your sister?" the doctor asked, his voice firm but calm, trying to take control of the rising chaos. "Lily. She was just brought in," the woman cried, her voice cracking like glass. "She was in the accident. I need to see her." Jake's mind raced. He glanced at Mark, who was taken aback by the sudden turn of events. The anxiety in the room thickened, wrapping around them like a fog. "Accident?" Jake finally managed to say, his voice barely above a whisper. "What happened?" The woman turned towards him, desperation etched on her face. "She was hit by a car near the bridge. They don't know if she's awake." Or the words choked in her throat, twisting into palpable fear. Jake felt a pang of empathy. He couldn't imagine being in her shoes. But with every second that ticked by, he couldn't shake the growing dread. Is she okay?" he found the strength to ask. "She has to be. I couldn't lose her too." Her breath came in quick bursts, and she hugged herself tightly, almost as if she were trying to keep herself from unraveling. Jake turned back to the doctor, who was now attending to Ethan's mother, checking her vitals. "What do we know about the injuries?" he pressed. "They're stable for now," the doctor said, not taking his eyes off the monitors. "We just need to assess any head trauma and internal injuries. But it's a waiting game." We can't make any promises until she's responsive. That word promises gnawed at Jake. He had been living the uncertainty with Ethan's mom. The ache of not knowing if she'd wake up consumed him. The idea of more families waiting at the edge of hope made his stomach twist. He involuntarily reached for the small hand of Ethan, who sat mute in the corner, his eyes wide like saucers, taking it all in. "Where's Ethan?" Jake turned back to the woman, desperate to find some connection. "He might know something." She faltered. "He's at the school." "Why?" Jake felt his heart race. "I'll get him," he declared. "He needs to be here. For both of us." "Wait!" the woman shouted as he turned to leave. "If something happens to my sister, will you come back and tell me?" The urgency in her voice froze Jake for a moment. The weight of her question hung heavily in the air. "Yes," he promised, not knowing if it was right to give such assurance. But he needed to get Ethan, to help. The two families were intertwined now, each heartbeat connected by a thread of fate. "I'll be back," Jake said, forcing confidence into his voice and moving to the hallway. With each step, the urgency in his veins fueled him. He had to find a way to bring everybody together. As he burst through the emergency exit, the chill of the night hit him, grounding him. He needed to think straight. He dialed Ethan's school, speaking to the secretary and explaining the situation, his heart pounding as he waited for instructions. When the secretary promised to send him home on the next bus, he turned back towards the hospital, fear and hope mingling tightly in his chest. What if any of this could change the course of their lives? What if Ethan could somehow lead to information that could turn this chaos into healing? Jake took a deep breath, realizing they were past the point of going back now. It was time to fight for their futures, no matter how tumultuous the journey might be ahead. And as he stepped back into the hospital, the lingering question remained: could love and support triumph over the secrets that hovered in the air like dark clouds? Jake's heart raced as he re-entered the hospital. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, illuminating the worried faces around him. He looked for the frantic woman, but she was gone. Perhaps she had sought solace somewhere outside this storm of grief. He could feel the tension building in the air, thick enough to suffocate any spark of hope. He took a quick breath, steadying himself before heading back to the waiting area where Mark was still sitting, glancing nervously toward the doors. Ethan would be here soon, but would it be enough? Would the boy's presence act as a balm against the fear gradually gnawing at him? Mark's voice pulled him from his thoughts. "What is going on?" "Lily was in an accident." "They don't know how serious it is," he replied, shaking his head. "But Ethan, I need him here. He might have information." Mark nodded but couldn't shield the worry in his expression. "I hope she's okay. It feels like every time we get a bit of normalcy, something pulls us back to chaos." Jake understood the sentiment deeply. Life had a way of flipping upside down without any warning. He leaned against the wall, fingers tapping anxiously. "What do you think they'll say?" "The doctor will do what he can," Mark said, looking toward the nurse's station. "But like any of us, they're just human, hoping for good news. We have to believe it." As if on cue, the doors swung open, startling them. Jake's heart soared as he saw Ethan stepping through, backpack slung over one shoulder, confusion written across his young face. Jake rushed to greet him, crouching to his level. "Ethan. Thank goodness you're here," Jake said, forcing a smile. "Is my mom okay?" The boy's voice cracked slightly, revealing the worry he tried to hide behind bravado. "We're waiting for news, buddy. But I need you to stick with me." Jake kept his grip firm on Ethan's shoulder for comfort. "You think you can do that?" Ethan nodded slowly, a spark of determination igniting in his eyes. "Do you think she wants me?" "Of course she does. You're her whole world." Jake's voice dropped to a whisper, the weight of the moment making it feel even heavier. They made their way back to the waiting area. Suddenly, the emergency room doors opened again, a doctor stepping through with a wearied expression tinged with an edge of urgency. "Sir?" the doctor called, addressing Jake. Jake's heart dropped. "Yes. You have news? The doctor glanced again at the chart in his hands. We're moving your mother to a room. She's stable, but she needs further observation. There's some swelling in her brain from the impact. We need to monitor her closely. The doctor's words registered slowly, a mix of relief and dread coursing through him. So she's awake? Not yet, I'm afraid, the doctor replied, avoiding Jake's gaze. Jake felt Ethan's hand tighten around his. But she will be? The boy asked, voice trembling. The doctor hesitated, looks flickering between Jake and Ethan. We hope so. But it's too early to say anything for sure. The weight of uncertainty hung heavily as the doctor walked away. Jake's gut twisted as he turned to Ethan, who was staring at him wide-eyed, searching for a flicker of hope. All Jake could manage was a shaky smile. Then they heard it, a ghostly voice echoing faintly from down the hall. Jake helped. Jake's heart stopped. Did you hear that? Mom? Ethan's eyes widened as he stepped toward the sound. Jake followed without hesitation. Each step radiated urgency, his heart pounding in sync with the mounting fear and hope. The door at the end of the corridor creaked open, revealing a figure hiding within the dim light. As anticipation swelled, a chilling realization hit Jake. What if it wasn't just Lily they had to save? But as he lifted his hand to push the door open, an undeniable question struck him. Would it be too late for them? Jake's hand hovered over the door handle, his breath quickening. He could feel Ethan's light tug at his shirt, the boy's silent plea for reassurance echoing against the metallic silence of the hospital corridor. It took Jake a moment to muster the courage to turn the knob, but he steeled himself, driven by instinct, love, and fear. As the door creaked open, a wave of dim light spilled out, illuminating the scene inside. Jake's heart sank. The room was small and cluttered, filled with medical equipment and the unmistakable scent of antiseptic. Lily lay there, motionless, wires snaking around her head. The sight took the breath from Jake's lungs, paralyzing him momentarily. Mom! Ethan shouted, rushing forward, but Jake quickly grabbed his arm, stopping him before he could cross the threshold. Hold on, buddy. Wait for me, he said, his voice strained and low. Any sudden movement could send them spiraling into worst-case scenarios. They stepped inside, the beeping of the machines becoming the soundtrack to their growing anxiety. Jake approached the bed slowly, his heart thumping painfully against his ribs. He could see the bruises on Lily's face, dark and swollen, moments captured in an unending loop of terror and uncertainty. Ethan's small hand slipped from Jake's grasp, and he reached for his mother, eyes wide with desperation. Mom, please wake up. Jake softened. The sight of Ethan reaching out, his small fingers trembling above Lily's hand, broke his heart in two. Ethan, let us give her a moment. Just a moment. He took a step closer, his own palms sweating. But then, to their surprise, Lily's eyelids fluttered. The moment felt electric, hope crackling in the air. Jake. Her voice was a fragile whisper, like a forgotten melody re-emerging from the depths. Yes, I'm right here, Mom. Jake replied, a swell of relief flooding through him. You're in the hospital. You're safe. We've got you. The corner of her mouth attempted a faint smile, though it faltered as she struggled to focus. Ethan? Mom. The boy jumped to her side, his small figure radiant with joy. I'm here. I was so scared. Came as soon as I got the call. Jake's voice cracked, overwhelmed by a rush of emotions he couldn't contain. Lily turned her head slightly, revealing a tear rolling down her cheek. Sorry, I didn't mean to worry you both. The words, though faint, felt like a lifeline in the storm. Ethan leaned closer. I knew you'd fight, Mom. You're the strongest. The tenderness enveloped them like a warm hug. Jake felt hope fluttering like a bird freed from a cage. But with that joy came a creeping anxiety simmering beneath the surface. How severe were her injuries really? How long would their lives be overshadowed by this incident? A nurse entered, her demeanor professional yet kind, glancing at Lily then at Jake and Ethan. We need to monitor her closely. It's great that she's awake, but we've got more tests to run, okay? Jake's heart sank again. How long will that take? The nurse hesitated, her eyes flickering with the weight of unspoken thoughts. It's hard to say. We need to be thorough. The uncertainty twisted painfully in Jake's gut. He focused on Ethan's face, which radiated concern and hope all at once. Would you like to talk to her? The nurse asked Ethan gently. Ethan nodded vigorously, stepping forward. Mom, what do you need? I can help. As Lily reached out a weak hand and placed it on Ethan's cheek, Jake marveled at the bond they shared, even amid such uncertainty. But fear bubbled in Jake's mind. What if the past few weeks of chaos weren't over yet? The room remained heavy with unspoken words, and he couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of something larger than a mere injury, a slide into a darkness that loomed just beyond their bright moment. Do you think this is just the beginning? Jake whispered, more to himself than anyone else, as doubts began wrapping their tendrils around him once more. Ethan turned to him, eyes wide with innocence. What do you mean? Jake felt an unsettling shift within himself. Was it naive to hope? Would they emerge unscathed from this storm? As he opened his mouth to answer, the monitors in the room suddenly beeped erratically, sending a shockwave of fear through him. Something's wrong. Jake's voice faded into a hushed intensity as everyone turned to see what would happen next. Time slowed. Would they have to fight again? And if so, would they be ready? The beep of the monitors pierced through the thick air, each sound igniting panic in Jake's chest. He felt every heartbeat hammering in his ears, a rapid rhythm that matched the relentless beeping. Is she okay? Ethan's small voice quivered, eyes darting between the nurse and his mother, fear blossoming on his innocent face. The nurse rushed to the machines, her fingers moving swiftly over the buttons. Just a moment, sweetie, she said, her expression focused yet calm. But her urgency only deepened the pit in Jake's stomach. Jake, what's happening? Ethan asked, clutching at his father's shirt, searching for a stronghold amid the turmoil. I don't know, buddy, Jake admitted, the words tasting bitter in his mouth. But I'm right here. He held Ethan tightly, trying to shield him from the chaos unraveling around them. Lily's eyes flitted open for an instant, slowly finding their way to Ethan. Ethan, she whispered, her voice strained. I'm here, I'm not leaving you. A burst of strength surged through Jake. Just hold on, Lily. We're right here. His voice trembled, the words echoing in the small room. He wanted to be her rock, but the weight of uncertainty pressed down like a lead blanket. Suddenly, the door swung open, and a doctor rushed in, accompanied by two nurses. Their faces were masked with professional urgency, and Jake took a step back, instinctively shielding Ethan from the palpable tension. Despite the cacophony of beeping machines and raised voices, a strange calm washed over him. This was what they needed, someone who could help. Mrs. Bennett, can you hear me? The doctor asked, approaching the bed. We need to stabilize you. You experienced some distress signals from the monitors. We're going to check your vitals now. Please, Lily gasped, meeting Jake's desperate gaze. I don't want anything to happen to you or Ethan. I promise, nothing is going to happen. Jake fought to keep his voice steady, but doubt lurked beneath the surface, gnawing at him. As the doctor and nurses tended to Lily, Jake watched, feeling like a spectator in a battle he couldn't fight. He pressed Ethan closer, whispering reassurances, but the unease gnawed at him. What if they lost her all over again? The doctor exchanged rapid words with the nurses, the atmosphere taut with urgency. Jake couldn't ignore the strain in their faces. He felt trapped in a nightmare with no exit, every second stretching longer than the last. Ethan squeezed his father's hand. Dad, I'm scared. Jake knelt, meeting Ethan's tear-filled eyes. I know, buddy. But we have to stay strong for your mom. She needs us. Just then, the doctor turned to them, a calm yet serious expression across his face. Okay, we're stabilizing her. We need to take her for further tests. We'll keep you updated. Tests? Jake echoed, dread creeping up his spine. How serious is it? The doctor hesitated, searching for the right words. Her condition is serious, but we're doing everything we can. It's crucial that she gets the care she needs right now. I need you both to wait here. As they wheeled Lily away, Jake felt a piece of his heart leave with her. He turned back to Ethan, whose small face was pale and drawn. Why is this happening, Dad? Ethan's voice wobbled, innocence clashing painfully with the harsh reality before them. Jake took a deep breath, pushing back the tide of emotions threatening to overwhelm him. I don't know, Ethan. But I promise we'll fight for her. We'll do everything it takes. In the quiet moments that followed, each tick of the clock felt like an anchor dragging him down into despair. The world outside continued, oblivious to their pain, but inside the sterile hospital walls, they were treading water in a sea of uncertainty. Dad, Ethan broke the silence, his voice low. Do you think she'll be okay? Jake's heart ached. I want to believe that, buddy. We have to believe that. Yet, deep inside, a part of him wondered if they would ever feel whole again. Suddenly, the door opened once more, a figure emerging whose presence shifted everything in the room. Jake's breath hitched. As he saw the unmistakable face of someone he never expected to see here, someone whose actions had led them down this tumultuous path. Jake the visitor began, looking nervous yet determined. I need to talk to you. It's about Lily and what happened. A new wave of fear seized Jake. What could possibly be so important? Is she okay? Jake's voice was barely above a whisper, the visitor's face was grave, the weight of their words hanging thick in the air. You might want to sit down for this. And just like that, their world teetered once more at the edge of a cliff, uncertainty circling like a predator waiting to strike. Jake's heart raced as he processed the visitor's words. He couldn't sit down. Not now, not when every part of him screamed for answers. Just tell me, he urged, his voice strained. The visitor's presence felt like a storm cloud hovering ominously over them. I can explain everything, but you need to understand how dire the situation is, the visitor said, eyeing Ethan with concern. I'm here because of Lily. I know what happened that day, what really happened. Jake's breath caught. What do you mean? What do you know? Was it my fault? No, Jake. It was an accident, the visitor replied quickly, stepping closer. You remember the charity event where Lily was working? That night was chaotic. Jake nodded, memories flooding back. The glitz and glamour, the excitement of the community coming together, and then the phone call that changed everything. After the event, there was a misdial, a wrong number that led to the visitor paused, frustration evident on their face. A calamity. The real issue started with a connection that shouldn't have happened. Ethan tugged at Jake's sleeve. Dad, what's happening? The confusion in his eyes mirrored the turmoil raging within Jake. It's okay, Ethan, he said, forcing strength into his voice while his insides twisted. Just listen. There was a child in need, the visitor continued, their voice steady but layered with urgency. But in reaching for him, we mistakenly sent the wrong emergency unit to Lily. By the time they realized the error, it was too late to fix it. Jake clenched his fists by his sides. You're saying the wrong choice put her here? An avalanche of emotions surged through him, anger, guilt, despair, all coiling tightly around his throat. I didn't know until I found out after the fact, the visitor said, desperate for understanding. I'd been calling around, trying to piece it together. I didn't imagine what? Jake interrupted, his voice sharp with anguish. That we could lose everything because of a misplaced call? You don't just show up here without knowing how important Lily is to us. I know, and I'm so sorry, the visitor said. But I'm trying to help now. I have access to resources, to information. We might be able to make things right. Jake's heart sank as he considered their words. Make things right? How? What could possibly undo this? Ethan, still clutching his father's shirt, looked between them. Is Mommy gonna be okay? In that moment, Jake felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. "We're gonna do everything," he promised Ethan. His voice softened, resolute. "Whatever it takes to get your mom back." The visitor nodded, determination flickering in their eyes. "I have contacts who can push for better decisions in the hospital. They can ensure she's getting the right care." "Then do it," Jake urged, desperation creeping back in. "I don't care how hard it is. Just make sure she's safe." But just as hope flickered in his heart, a loud alarm blared from down the hallway. The nurse rushed out of the room, her face a mask of urgency. Words flew from her lips, but they were drowned out by the panic mounting in Jake's chest. "What's happening?" he yelled, eyes wide as he moved toward the nurse, fear tightening around him. "We're losing her." The nurse called over her shoulder as she sprinted away, Jake's breath caught. "No. Not again." Ethan's grip tightened around Jake's hand, terror etching every feature of his small face. "What if we can't fix this? What if we lose her?" Ethan's voice shook as he looked up at Jake, eyes swimming with helplessness. Behind them, the visitor's expression darkened with concern, realizing they might have uncovered a truth far more horrifying than anticipated. "Ethan," Jake whispered, kneeling to meet his son's gaze. "We can't think like that. We have to fight. We have to believe she'll come back to us." But as the echo of the alarm filled the air, Jake wondered if belief was enough. What lay ahead was fraught with uncertainty and danger, and he feared that the answers they were seeking might unravel their world even more. With each beat of his heart, Jake felt the ground shift beneath them. Would they find the way to save Lily, or was this a fight that was already lost? And as doubt crept in, the door burst open again, a figure emerging whose presence promised to either pull them from darkness or plunge them deeper. "What's happening?" the new arrival shouted, pushing through the chaos, eyes wild with worry and determination. Jake's chest tightened as he caught a glimpse of who it was. He could only hope that this time, the arrival of more help wouldn't come too late. What revelations lay ahead that could either save or shatter them? The figure stepped into the fray, panting and drenched in urgency. It was Sophia, Lily's sister, with her eyes wide and frantic. Jake felt a swell of conflicting emotions, relief that Sophia was here and despair reacting to the gravity of the moment. "What is going on?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Lily, she's in trouble," Jake managed, his voice barely above a whisper as he gestured toward the room where the frantic beeping alarm persisted. Sophia's expression shifted instantly from confusion to horror. "Wait, is she not yet?" the visitor interjected, leaning in to explain swiftly. "But if we don't act now, we might not have time. I believe there's a way to make this right to save her." "What do you mean?" Sophia demanded, her voice brimming with urgency. A palpable silence hung like a thick fog between them. Jake could sense that the visitor held the key, yet he struggled to imagine how anything could turn this around. "There are experts, the kind of medical professionals who can intervene quickly, but they need an endorsement," the visitor urged, determination radiating from them. "Jake, I can connect you with them, but you'll need to trust me." Ethan, still clasping Jake's hand tightly, looked from Jake to Sophia with pure fear lining his young brows. "Is mommy gonna be okay? Please, someone tell me she'll be okay." Jake crouched down to meet his son's fearful gaze. "We're going to fight for her, buddy," he assured, though doubt gnawed at his spirit. "We need to trust that she's strong. No time for doubts." The visitor's voice cut through their fears. "We need to move swiftly. Every second counts." "Then let us do it," Jake said, a surge of determination washing over him. "Let us make the call." Sophia took a deep breath. "What can I do? I'm here for Lily. Whatever it takes." They hurriedly discussed their next steps while the distant echo of the nurse's frantic movements lingered in their ears. The visitor began pulling out their phone, fingers flying over the screen as they tapped into their own network of contacts. "Where should I go?" Jake asked. "Do I stay here or go with you?" "Stay close, but be ready to visit the ICU. If I can arrange the transfer to a different hospital, it would be best." The visitor's voice carried a gravity that made Jake's heart thump louder. I need you to be our advocate while I secure the medical team. Jake swallowed hard, nodding grimly. Just do it now. As the visitor was absorbed into phone calls, the tension crackled around them like static. Each word seemed to hang in the air, vibrating with tension. The alarms blared with a harsh reality that Jake couldn't ignore. Please, he murmured, a prayer for his wife that escaped his lips. Just let Lily pull through. Ethan looked up at him, tears glistening in his eyes. Will you promise me she'll come back? You promised she'd fight. Jake's heart broke further. Yes, I promise, he said, though uncertainty curled around his words like smoke. We'll all fight together. Then, suddenly, the visitor hung up, eyes intense. We have to go, they're setting things in motion. We need to get to the ICU now. Breath quickening, Jake stood, pulling Ethan into an embrace for a moment. The world around them blurred, and all he could sense was the urgency rushing through them. They needed answers, and they needed them fast. As they moved towards the room, Jake felt a swirl of emotions, a mix of fear, hope, and determination. Would the magical breakthrough they desperately sought materialize? Or was Lily's fate already sealed? Then they reached the ICU door, and it swung open to reveal a chaotic scene. The medical team was rapidly working, and as Jake stepped into the room, hope flickered uncertainly. But then he saw a figure across the room, standing by Lily's bed. A doctor, his silhouette sharp against the lights above, turned to face them, expression unreadable. Who are you? The doctor demanded, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. Jake's world tilted. Would this man offer the salvation they craved, or was he the bearer of more bad news? Each second stretched painfully as Jake took a step forward, ready to grasp at any glimmer of hope. What happens next could change everything, he thought, as he prepared to fight for the woman he loved. But was he ready for the answer that lay ahead? Jake's heartbeat thudded loudly in his ears as he stepped closer, determination igniting the fire in his soul. The doctor was assessing Lily's condition, urgency giving his every movement a sense of gravity. Hope balanced precariously on the edge of despair. Who are you? The doctor repeated, fixing his gaze firmly on Jake. Jake Turner, he managed to say, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside him. I'm Lily's husband. We need to know what's happening with her. The doctor's expression softened, but only slightly. She's stable for the moment, but we need to continue monitoring her closely. There was some distress, but we're working on it. Distress? Ethan's young voice pierced through the tension. What does that mean? Is Mommy going to be okay? Jake knelt beside his son, taking a deep breath to anchor himself. They're doing everything they can, buddy, but we need to keep praying and believing she will be okay. But as the doctor nodded and stepped back, Jake could see the implication in his eyes. They were in the hands of fate now, and the stakes felt higher than ever before. Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed down the hallway. Jake! I'm here. What do you need? Sophia rushed into the room, her face streaked with fear yet fierce with resolve. The sight of her was both a relief and a reminder of how much they'd lost already. Lily's in here, Jake said, his voice urgent. We need to make sure she gets the best care. Leave it to me, Sophia said, turning to the medical team. I'll speak to the hospital administration, use my connections. We can't let her down. As Sophia slipped out to navigate the labyrinth of hospital bureaucracy, Jake felt a wave of lightness wash over him. Maybe just maybe they could claw their way out of this darkness. The minutes felt like hours, the clock painfully ticking away while Jake held Ethan tight, praying silently for Lily. For a fleeting moment, he pictured her laughing at one of their dinner jokes, sunlight streaming into their kitchen. The memory sparked warmth in his heart. Mommy's strong, she's fought for us, Jake murmured to Ethan, trying to instill hope. Is that why she's fighting now? Ethan asked, looking up with big, trusting eyes. Exactly, Jake said, ruffling Ethan's hair. She loves us so much. At that moment, the doctor returned, flanked by a team of specialists who wore expressions of focused determination. We're transferring her to a specialized unit, the doctor explained, his voice clear and commanding. It's the best thing for her recovery. Will it help? Jake pressed, needs surging in his veins. It's necessary, given her condition. We're about to take her now, the doctor replied. As nurses swiftly maneuvered, preparing to move Lily, Jake felt pride and fear clash within him. Can we go with her? He asked, fear knotting in his stomach. Yes, the doctor gestured. Follow us. As they wheeled Lily's bed down the corridor, the bright lights overhead blurred into streaks. Jake held Ethan's hand tightly. Stay close, buddy. Mommy needs us. They entered the new unit, a realm filled with quiet intensity. Machines beeped rhythmically, fluorescent lights casting a sterile glow. The medical team carefully transferred Lily onto the new bed. Jake held his breath, praying. Would she wake up? Would she feel their love wrapping around her like a warm embrace? His heart raced as he watched the team work with precision, each doctor and nurse showing a level of care that comforted his anxious heart. Just then, Lily's eyelids fluttered again, drawing everyone's attention. Jake? She breathed, the words like a warm sun breaking through dark clouds. Right here, babe, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. You're at the hospital. You're safe. I thought. She struggled, frowning. I thought I might lose you. You could never lose us, Lily. We're right here. We're all going to get through this together. Ethan shifted closer, eyes sparkling with anticipation. Mommy, we're here. We love you. Lily blinked slowly, recognizing their voices. A smile danced faintly across her lips. Ethan, my sunshine, she murmured, the bond between them glowing like gold. Tears streamed down Jake's face. In that moment, life felt infinitely more significant than anything else he had ever known. It wasn't just about survival, it was about connection, love, and the warmth of family. As Lily's hand tightened around Ethan's, an unspoken promise filled the air. In those fragile moments, they all understood, love was the greatest force of all, capable of healing and overcoming even the darkest of paths. Not just my fight, Jake murmured. Our fight. With the dawn breaking on new hope, Jake felt whole again, knowing they were strong enough to face whatever came next. And just like that, amid worry and fear, a brilliant light began to shine, an unyielding belief that they would emerge not just as a family but as a resilient, unbreakable unit. As they held hands, Jake instilled the faith of a united front because together, they could weather any storm. Now, before you go, this is the time to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss more exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support matters.